everyone, and welcome back to the show. It's great to be here with you, as always, for these Total Wellness Tuesday episodes. And today, I'm excited to share with you the topic of the only lab testing that truly matters. And I do not take this topic lightly. The problem is this. Over the past couple of years, it's become more and more apparent to me that a lot of MDs and a lot of conventional medicine doctors are starting to get a little bit more into functional medicine, which is great. The more that we can talk about functional medicine, for sure, the better. And functional medicine is really the study of and the use of lab work in order to help people find the underlying root causes of their illnesses or their dis-ease in their body. The problem is this. Since most medical doctors and most conventional medicine are trained in blood work alone, it is all that they are running with their patients. And again, all credit towards every doctor and every practitioner that wants to help their patients or wellness clients to a greater degree. Like 100%, you're on the right track. That is exactly what you should be doing. The problem is this. Patients don't know better, right? They do what their doctor, for the most part, tells them to do. So, and that's probably rightly so, right? Because the doctor or the health practitioner has been studying it for many more years than they have. The problem is this, though, is that blood work can only take you so far. And what I'm going to do today is actually link up an episode on the blood work that you should be running every single year with your PCP or medical doctor or even on your own, all right? So if you go to stephencabral.com/1789, every lab test I talk about will be linked up there today. I won't keep mentioning the episode, but the link is at stephencabral.com/1789. Now, I'll tell you this, though. So I've already said you should run your annual blood work with your doctor. And it should look like a complete chemistry panel. It should look at a lipid panel, which is all your cholesterol, triglyceride-based markers. It should look at a CBC, your complete blood count, all your red blood cells, oxygenated hemoglobin, etc. You want to run vitamin D3 in there. So I give all of that to you on a previous podcast. So that's easy to download. I think I even give you a link of where you could order it on your own as well. The problem is this, though. And this is a huge issue with blood work, and it's a huge issue with any functional medicine. And I know there's a lot of functional medicine practitioners and doctors listening to the show. So again, this is not a slight. It's just, it does not give you the underlying root cause imbalances of what your patients or wellness clients are suffering from. Okay. So in many instances, it gives you invaluable information, and that's why you should run it. So again, I don't want to mix any words. Run your blood work every single year with your doctor. Okay, so I've said it. Now, here's the issue, though. When you are looking at your cholesterol, it is not telling you why you have high cholesterol. Let's leave the cholesterol debate aside for a second, low or high cholesterol, right? So if your cholesterol, some people have no issue with it being above 200, okay? Some people, right? Some people have no issue with it being below 160. I have an issue with both of those. I want it between 160 and 200. Are you okay if your cholesterol is 240? You very well may be, right? Because we're also going to look at your HDL, which is considered your so-called good cholesterol. And we're going to look at your LDL, which is considered your so-called bad cholesterol. We're going to look at your triglycerides. We're going to even look at, if we're able to, particle size for your LDL cholesterol. We're going to look at apolipoprotein, little a, little b. Like, there's a lot that we can look at, right? But I don't want to get as advanced on the show with that. I talk about that on a previous show, and I will talk about it more as well on more cardiovascular-based shows, and specifically in a Health Results Accelerator too that I do on that. But here's the issue, though. When you look at your total cholesterol, eventually, hopefully, people will say some number is too high, right? Whatever that number is for you. But on typical blood work, it's around 200 or 220. That's going to be too high. LDL above 100 or 110, too high. Again, debates aside. So the reason is why? Like, why? You don't know that. You have no idea why your cholesterol is high when you run blood work. You have no idea. You really don't. So what does the PCP or your doctor do then? Well, they put you on some type of statin drug, most likely, okay? So they're putting you on a cholesterol-lowering medication. However, I ask you this, 10 years ago, was your cholesterol high? The answer is no, right? So before you got the diagnosis, the answer was no. So why is it now that your cholesterol is high? You have to be able to ask that. And again, don't ask your PCP that. It's not fair to them to ask them that. They don't have the education as to why that is, right? They don't have the time. They don't have the education. That's not what they do. It's just like asking me. I'll talk about that this Friday. There's a specific pharmaceutical that's being used now with a particular virus that may be life-saving. But if you ask me about that drug, I've now done the research, but if you asked me previous, I would not have known the name of that drug. Why? Not my wheelhouse. I'm not a medical doctor, right? It's not what I do. I'm a doctor of naturopathy. So I'm a doctor of natural health. That's what I do. So again, I don't talk about things that I am not well-versed in. And your PCP is probably not going to be able to do the same, right? So it's like, well, why is your cholesterol high? They're just going to say, well, it's genetic, because that's the easiest thing to say. It's genetic. Of course it's genetic. Of course it's genetic. It's in your genes. It's why some people can eat whatever they want and their cholesterol doesn't go high, and some people it does. And some people, they don't exercise and their cholesterol is high. Some people exercise, their cholesterol is high. It is genetic. However, why now? What is the underlying factor that caused your genetics to click on? Because there's always a reason. And if there's a reason why, there's a reason to be able to reverse that too. There's always a reason why. There really is. I mean, there honestly is. It didn't just happen because you turned 33 years old. That's not how things work. It happened because you filled up that rain barrel, that proverbial rain barrel in some way. You might not know why, and your blood work's not going to say it, but there is an answer why. So again, if you're talking with a natural health doctor or an integrative health practitioner as to why you might have high cholesterol, well, now we can start to look more in depth. Is it low thyroid? Is it high cortisol production? Is it high estrogen levels? Is it an imbalanced blood sugar? Like we can start to really look why. You're not going to be able to find that all out though on your blood work. You're just not, because there's no way that you are running evening cortisol. You're just not. So you're not able to look at how your body's function at night. Blood work is great, but it is a single snapshot in time. When that blood is drawn, it's what's been going on. And also, most people are not told by their doctors that to get a true lab result based on the zone, the numbers, you should have your blood drawn before 10 a.m. and you should have been fasting from dinner the night before. 12-hour minimum fast, and first thing in the morning fasted, right? That's when you should have your lipid panel really done. That will give you the best picture to fall within that zone, okay? So that's one example right there. Another example I wanted to give you is, well, what if you have high levels of sodium, right? So your blood work shows high levels of sodium. What do we do? You also have high blood pressure at the same time. It's like, well, what do we do? Well, you're not going to know why your sodium levels are high. So what might your doctor do? Well, they might put you on some type of diuretic, okay? But you would have been able to figure that out using natural health-based modalities, the labs that I'm going to talk about in a moment. And here's why. You would have known if it's too low a level of magnesium. You would have known that your sodium levels are high because you don't have enough potassium. You would have known that your sodium levels were elevated because you have high thyroid or high cortisol. Any one of those things, high aldosterone, any one of those things can cause elevated levels of sodium. It's simply called sodium sparing in the body. If you study bioregulatory medicine, if you study integrative health, you learn those things. You understand, okay, under stress, the body begins to produce what? Well, especially in the beginning, more norepinephrine, more cortisol, more aldosterone, okay? Those things do what? Well, they get rid of potassium and they spare sodium. That means they're going to keep more sodium floating around. Why are they doing that? Well, it's to get you in fight or flight. It works. Raises blood pressure, your heart rate's going to get sped up, you're ready to go. That's why it does it, okay? But using a diuretic doesn't fix the underlying root cause problem. It does nothing except help to get rid of that sodium in your body. And you feel terrible for the most part. So am I saying to come off your medications? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that everyone should have a PCP, a medical doctor, as well as an integrative health practitioner or a functional medicine doctor that doesn't just do blood work, or a naturopathic doctor, because most naturopathic doctors don't do just blood work, right? So they're using other modalities. We'll get to that in just one moment. I just wanted to give you one more scenario as well. And that would be something that I like to have a doctor run or run on your own for blood work, and that's not alkaline phosphatase, that's a great one too, but I won't give that one, lactase dehydrogenase, right? So LDH it's called. And that is because if you have high LDH, and that's a big one that we look for. So you won't have any idea why. You won't have any idea why you have that high number. What does it mean? Well, it means tissue destruction essentially in the body. But it could come from a lot of different issues. It could be cancer, it could be viruses, it could even be parasites in some ways. I found it with heavy metals. It's really having to do with oxidative stress. But it could also be something as simple as low B12 or folate. It honestly could be that. So what do we do? Well, here's the deal. If we are able to look for B12, for folate, for parasites, we would be able to know. And that is why blood work alone is not enough. So this is basically a public service announcement, a PSA, that if you are working with a functional medicine doctor, fantastic, but make sure it's not blood work alone. It's not going to tell you the underlying root cause. It's just not. So run your blood work every single year, but always make sure that you are also looking for the deficiencies and toxicities that lead to the dis-ease in your body. Because remember, blood work can diagnose disease. Blood work and blood work alone diagnoses disease. And you do that, again, with a licensed medical doctor. Those are the people that diagnose disease. But if you're looking for why you have that dis-ease in the body in the first place, you're going to want to look for the underlying root causes. And I've talked about it before. The underlying root causes are a deficiency in some way, okay? As we just spoke about, is it B12? Is it folate? Well, what about in the case of sodium? Was it magnesium? Was it potassium? We don't know, but we can look for those, okay? Same with cholesterol. Was it high levels of cortisol, higher levels of estrogen, lower levels of thyroid? And if it's low levels of thyroid, so for example, you say, well, I can run my thyroid on blood work as well. You can. You absolutely can. But let's say you have a TSH then of 4 or 5. Not good, okay? Not good at all. And if it's a 4, then your doctor still most likely says, well, it's within range, so we're just going to keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, you're gaining weight, you've got poor circulation, cold hands and feet, your hair is thinning, your eyebrows thinning, you feel terrible, you have brain fog, you're gaining water weight as well, but your doctor says you're fine. Well, you're not fine. Because a normal TSH is between 0.5 and 2. That's optimal. And that is why, that's the difference between functional medicine and integrative health and conventional medicine. We don't wait for it to go out of range. But let's just say it is out of range. Okay, you have high TSH. Well, what is your doctor going to do? Is going to say, well, you have hypothyroidism, and now we're going to put you on levothyroxine or some other type, most likely 1 or 2 different types of thyroid-based medication. And again, will it work to raise your numbers? It will artificially, because it's giving you now T4. Some doctors will give T3 as well. But is that what your body needs? No, your body needs what it needs because it's dysfunctional. And I did a whole health results accelerator on this, did like A to Z, how to fix your thyroid. I did even a masterclass. There's a free masterclass on it if you just go to stephencabral.com/courses, okay? Go to the one that says thyroid. If you don't want to sign up for the health results accelerator on thyroid, that's totally fine. I give you a 2-hour free masterclass on all the different reasons why your thyroid dysfunctions. It could be simply you're not getting enough iodine or you're not getting enough B6, and you can't transform T4 to T3, or you can't even make enough T4 in the first place without enough iodine molecules. So you have to understand there's always an underlying root cause. How can you figure out if you have enough iodine? How can you figure out the true underlying root causes? That's with true functional medicine testing. Functional medicine testing, true functional medicine lab testing is not blood work. It's certainly not. It's not blood work alone, at least. It is looking at your vitamin deficiencies. How do you find your vitamin deficiencies? Well, something like the Candida Metabolic and Vitamins Test. It's going to look at yeast overgrowth. It's going to look at gut imbalances. It's going to look at your B12, your folate, your B6. It's going to look at your B vitamins. It's going to look at your vitamin C. It's going to look at mitochondrial function. It's going to look at detox function. So that one's incredible. What about omega-3s? Well, unless you're really working with a concierge level functional medicine doctor, they're most likely not running your omega-3s. And if your cholesterol's off and you have high CRP PRP and you have all sorts of different inflammation in your body, how do you know it's not too little of omega-3s? And how do you know it's not too little EPA versus DHA? You won't know unless you run a specific omega-3 lab test, right? So what about mineral levels? Mineral levels are the unsung heroes in the body. They really are. We always talk about B12. Oh, it's so important. Yeah, sure, B12 is important. Not as important, though, as your electrolytes and the balance of your electrolytes. Calcium must be balanced by magnesium. If not, bone loss, atherosclerosis, the #1 killer in the world, right? Heart disease, okay? Sodium and potassium. You need all four, but they have to be in balance. So many people with high blood pressure, they're told to eliminate salt. Sure, you should eliminate salt unless you learn how to balance that with magnesium and potassium. Okay, that will then balance out sodium, because how your body works is in a checks and balances. If you have too much sodium, not a good thing. But you know what pushes down sodium? Potassium. You know what else stops the sympathetic nervous system? Magnesium, right? Not just magnesium, but this is the balance to sodium, right? So we're looking at what will balance cortisol, the sympathetic nervous system, aldosterone. Well, magnesium, phosphatidylserine, L-theanine, ashwagandha, like these things are all proven to work. But again, it's not your PCP's fault that they don't know that. It's not what they went to school for. They went to school for disease. They went to school to prescribe these pharmaceuticals, again, which for 90% of the population should be prescribed, because only 10% of the population really is willing to work on these things. That's the truth. So we need the pharmaceuticals, especially for the people that aren't willing to work on it. It's just the way that it is. Like, it's not good or bad. It's not my place to judge. I don't judge at all. But I want to help the people that want to truly help themselves, but they can't find the answers. The answers are out there. You just haven't found them yet. That's it. They're out there. They're available. This is what, episode, let's see, 1789. I've done 1,789 podcasts on natural health in mind and body, all of the different things. Go back. They are all free. They really are. The master classes are now free. You can decide if you want to move forward with protocols and health coaching and labs and whatever on your own. That's totally up to you. Also, remember that you can find a local functional medicine doctor that does more than just your annual blood work. You can find an integrative health practitioner. Just go to integrativehealthpractitioner.org and click on the practitioners. They're all over the world. Thousands of integrative health practitioners all over the world that can work with you virtually. You can find a naturopathic doctor in your local area as well. And most likely, they are going to be able to run all these labs with you as well. So that minerals test is called the minerals and metals test to look for heavy metals as well that cause oxidation, that can throw off your female hormones, male hormones, that can create oxidative stress in the body, cause cholesterol issues, you name it, cause autoimmune issues, cause thyroid issues. Another big one that I look at is looking at food sensitivities. Again, food sensitivities cause what? They cause inflammation. Inflammation causes dis-ease in the body. Well, if you can eliminate the food sensitivities, we can eliminate a lot of the inflammation, right? So we're never diagnosing or treating disease in natural health. We don't treat, we don't cure disease. We don't diagnose disease. What do? Well, we look at the underlying root causes that then lead to the inflammation or the imbalanced state that then leads to disease, right? So it's all about foundational. It's about first principles, about understanding how the body works. I could go on and on about all these amazing labs. You can test your heavy metals, you can test your neurotransmitters, you can test all these different things. The five that I recommend starting with, though, is called the Big Five. They assess gut function, vitamin levels, mineral levels, omega-3s, hormones, and food sensitivities, okay? So you look at your thyroid, your cortisol levels, your estrogen, your testosterone, your progesterone, your DHEA, you look at blood sugar levels. Amazing labs, absolutely amazing labs. And so that is what I recommend everyone do at least annually. That's what I've been doing now for myself, for my family, and in my private practice for a long time now. And it's game changers because you don't guess anymore. You don't guess at, oh, well, I wonder what my labs are going to look like now. You run your labs, you work on replacing the deficiencies, you remove the toxicities, and you become a healthy human being. That's what it's all about. That's the absolute best. If you can only run, let's say you can't do the Big Five, you can only do two. Something called the starter kit. It's the Candida, the vitamins, Candida metabolic and vitamins test, and it's the minerals and metals test, right? So you're looking at heavy metals, you're looking at gut dysfunction, mitochondrial function, your vitamin levels, your mineral levels. You do this, again, I'm not saying don't run your blood work, but you do it in addition to. Ideally around the same time if you can. If not, just run them whenever. Just get the lab results. Because a lot of people are now using the phrase, which is great, more and more, don't guess, test. That's what I want your new year to be all about. It's just don't guess anymore. Stop guessing, because here's the thing. It's so frustrating to say, well, I tried working on my thyroid, I tried working on my cortisol, I tried working on this, but you don't know if you were supposed to be working on it in the first place if you've never run the labs. That's the big thing to me. So I just absolutely believe they are worth the investment. And simply find a functional medicine doctor, an integrative health practitioner, a naturopathic doctor that specializes in these types of labs. And that, now again, it's not the labs alone, right? You can run the best labs in the world, but if your practitioner cannot create the right protocol and plan for you, then the labs are really worthless. They really are. They're just data points. So just take your time. Find the right person to work with. That's my big takeaway. Run the right labs. I'll link all the labs up. You do not need to run the labs with us. You don't. You can always run it with myself and my Equal Life team. You can always do that. But what I'm trying to do is open source these labs. Know what they are. Know that you have access to them, right? Know that you have access to figure out what is going on with your health. So you can find those at equi.life, equi.life/labs. It's honestly that easy. You can check them out. All the labs come with a full health coaching consultation to explain your results and then to develop a plan for you. But again, you can run them with anybody in the world that you want that's qualified to be able to get you these labs and read them as well. I just want you to know that they exist, so you can check them all out there. And of course, I will link everything up today at stevencabral.com/1789. I'll also link up the previous podcast on what labs, annual labs to ask your PCP to run. So hopefully you can get those run through health insurance as well. Functional medicine labs, the ones that we're talking about, they're not run through health insurance because they are not diagnosing disease, plain and simple, right? We live in a sick care-based culture, not a healthcare-based culture. Let's not mistake it, right? We're not trying to keep people healthy. We're just trying to help people once they've already become sick. If you've already become sick, look for the underlying root cause imbalances. If you're not sick right now, good, stay that way. Find out where your rain barrel is filling up. Find out what your deficiencies are. Find what your toxicities are before they manifest as dis-ease in the body. So hopefully this podcast was helpful. Please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. And again, I will link everything up today at stevencabral.com/1789. Take care.